Hello everyone, my name's Adam, or EposVox. EposVox? That was weird. Welcome to an impromptu episode of What the Fact, my frequently and maybe not so frequently asked questions series. This one is actually a direct response to a comment I received on my Patreon video, and I thought it would be easiest and best and clearest for me to explain my thoughts in video form and audio form rather than trying to type it all out and then him only being the one to get the answer. So I'm going to link him this video way before you see it, but I'm also going to put it out here since it relates to Patreon and it's something I'm asking of you guys to do for me. Then I want to be able to be as transparent as possible regarding this, especially regarding the subject. So the comment comes from Bradley Comer. I apologize. Usually that's Coomer, but there's only one O. I'm not sure how to say it. It says, I personally have no issue with Patreon, but you had mentioned it would help you be able to create content 7 days a week, which is great. The question is, how many people and how much money would it take you to do that, seeing how the money is to help you, but when do we get to see the results in regards to supporting you? Like you had mentioned, be blunt. Please don't take this as being rude, I am just curious. Thanks for the video as always. You're welcome. So, I ran into a catch-22 when creating that video in that in order to make a proper Patreon announcement video that would actually get a decent amount of views and watch time that people would actually see the information I'm saying in the video, I had to make it short and concise. The problem with that being then I left out a lot of the details regarding the reward tiers, the gold tiers, and things like that. The ideal goal was that people would click on the Patreon page and find out that information is for themselves, and it is listed at patreon.com/EposVox, and I'll show it on screen here, and I will explain some of this here, but it's a lot more better divided up and explained in text on the actual Patreon page itself. So definitely take a look at that to go along with the video and such. So essentially, I have a few gold tiers here. So the way my content creation process works, and this may sound out of left field, but this is how I can provide context in order to explain the answer, is I do a lot of content in bulk. Since I'm working on so many different projects and so many different side jobs and the like, in order to make ends meet and to get everything done, I record a lot of content in bulk. So in theory, for certain 2-week bursts, I could always post 7 days a week and just, it'd be a matter of pulling the trigger, scheduling them out, and bam, 7 days a week worth of content. And in some cases, I've actually done that. I did that for quite a while before I started working on developing an actual schedule, because everyone under the sun, my own research and training, since I am YouTube certified, and even my direct YouTube partner manager insisted that having a direct schedule that is conveyed clearly on the channel is the best way to go. So I'm trying to stick with that. The other downside of posting a full 7-day-a-week schedule means that in times where I'm getting very busy with actual work, I run out of videos to fill slots with. So by restricting my uploads currently in my current situation to only 3 days a week, give or take Tuesday or a special video, I'm then allowing myself weeks in advance worth of content to be buffered just in case, because I get really busy with work when I really lock down on it. Sometimes I got to take on a lot of side projects to pay rent and things like that, meaning that by having a bunch of videos in advance that I'm not doing 7 days a week, but instead of 3 days a week, I have a buffer to allow myself to basically handle things in chunks. So I've currently set the ability to upload 7 days a week, although I just noticed it's a typo here. I actually put 5 days a week, but it's supposed to be 7. And so I'll update that along with my new channel banner right after recording this. So what you will see on the page will reflect what I'm saying here. But I currently have that set at about $700, which would be to pay my rent. And this also will account for, it's an average between what my new rent will be, assuming that I'm actually able to move into a slightly bigger apartment with my fiance in a couple months. An average of that plus, and my current rent, because it's kind of in between the two. But essentially by having my rent, or the vast majority of my rent paid, then I can cut out a lot of those side jobs. So the problem here is that $700, that's a $700 tier. I currently only have $12. So an individual Patreon supporter or an individual potential Patreon supporter may not see any goal or any value in directly contributing if not enough people are going to get me there in the first place, because we're not even at the $100 goal. And I respect that opinion and I understand. If you fully directly expect that and you are upset that we can't get there, I can't control that, and I'm sorry. You're free to unpledge or what have you. Or if you just want to do it intermittently just to support outright, The thing is that I do so much content in bulk, and sometimes I can't make it fit a schedule because I create like so many tutorials that I would literally have them scheduled up for a year, and at some point they would stop becoming relevant, that there will still be weeks, especially with the higher investments of Patreon coming in, there will be weeks where it's like, okay, I made enough that I can take off this side gig or this freelance job for the month, and I can go ahead and make a week or two, 7 days a week. So in general, support in general, starting at that $100 tier or even $50, like when it's knocking out specific jobs that I have to do or tasks that I have to do, then that means that you get like a bonus week of 7 days a week. There's no way to definitively like quantify this or put that in a specific schedule to hold me accountable for. And so that's why I don't really have that listed as a direct result, because there's no way to fully like oblige myself to that or hold me accountable for that. And I do apologize, but that is essentially what will happen, because even though I say I'm only doing 3 days a week of content, it usually ends up being 4 or 5 anyway, just because of how much I have created and how much I will continue to create in order to achieve my goals. So it's more of, I'm promising 3 days a week, I'm targeting 5 days a week, but if we reach that $700 goal, then I will basically have a promise, target, and lock-in of videos every single day, because I will have no reason not to. Hopefully that makes more sense. And then I think the second part of the comment was with regard, like, what do we get in results of supporting you? And below that on the Patreon page, there are reward tiers. So I have $1, $3, $7, $15, and $30 tiers. I obviously don't expect anyone to contribute the $15 or $30 ones, but I did my best to create it in a realistic manner, which would make it worthwhile to anyone who was loaded and decided they wanted to contribute. And I also set it up to where, at least as far as I feel, that if you just want to do like a 1 or 2 time contribution of that tier instead of doing it full time, since it is so high, you still get a reward back. That way you can just kind of do it once or twice for the Discord server, and it still be worth your while. The $1 tier is that you just get access to the Patreon feed. There's a bunch of YouTube tips, a bunch of extra tech news and things like that I'm working on sharing. Patreon really doesn't have a scheduling system, and it irks me so much. Makes it a lot harder to actually share content on there, but I'm working on integrating it into my workflow. But unlisted videos that I end up not making public, bloopers, extra tech news articles that I don't share in Tech Tuesday, YouTube tips, pretty much any of my thoughts that I can get there that I don't have room to actually put in video content, I will be throwing up there. The $3 tier, you get that. You get private, specific Patreon targeted vlogs. I've actually done a couple of those recently, and I'm going to start orienting them to be either topics relating to the channel, because again, it should be more about the channel or the content. So it's going to be like updating what's going on with the channel or the studio as I make progress with that, how I'm actually integrating Patreon money into my business. What else did I do? Just general thoughts and things, and it could relate to just about anything, but I try to cater it towards things you would actually care about. And Q&A priority when it comes to Q&A events or just requesting like information out of me in general. $7 tier, early access to all videos. I always have them uploaded as unlisted way in advance. You get early access to the actual upload slot that would be going public, and therefore you would get to comment early and see things like that. Obviously that has no inherent value, but people seem to like that a lot, and I like getting on unlisted videos, so it's just something I'm trying to use to sell it. And then whenever I put out paid products or services, which I don't have any going right now, but I do YouTube consulting. I am YouTube certified for 2 years. I work for a YouTube MCN. I have almost a decade of experience working with the platform. I do YouTube marketing and consulting advice. I'm working on, I want to put out a couple ebooks, things like that. Whenever I do like paid products or services, you get pretty much like 75% off by being a $7 tier contributor as well. And every Patreon tier includes the previous tier's bonuses, by the way. The $15 tier, whenever I do channel reviews as part of my marketing and consulting gigs, you get priority to jump ahead in line, and like if you want your channel reviewed, if you're a patron, I review your channel, not having to just consider you or add you to a list or anything like that. You'll be done. And then you get to directly request tutorials. There's no guarantee that they end up public on the channel, but I can do my best to create a private or an unlisted video of what you want answered in the video as well. So that should help out a little bit as well. And then the $30 tier, all of that, including the priorities, plus access to my Discord server as long as you support that tier for 2 months in a row, not 2 years. And then you get to directly ask me questions and hang out and chat and things like that, potentially collaborate and so on. So a very long video, I apologize, and somewhat of a long-winded answer, but that's why I did it here in video form, because it's something that I needed to give a full detailed answer to at some point, and it was easier to do it this way to share it with the world. So Bradley specifically, since you'll be seeing this first, I do hope this answers your question, and everyone else, hopefully this maybe puts it into context better, and maybe you'll consider contributing on Patreon to keep my educational content free. Well, my content will always be free, but to help support me making more of it, and making more of it maybe that you want to see, and so on, I'll put a link to the original video as well as my Patreon page in the description below. And I'm going to get back to editing Tech Tuesday.